Hello crafty friends, Amanda here, and this is time for Makers with Heart September edition. And this month we are celebrating National Stamping Month. So what that means is that we can take stamps from the core catalog. If you haven't seen this, this is gorgeous. Or the seasonal catalog, which is ending this month. So the stamps and papers, the papers in this catalog are available only till the end of the month. Or Close to My Heart came out with the National Stamping Month project workshop, and then these stamps are representative. You can buy them individually, and some of the stamps come with stencils, and some of them come with thin cuts with them. And I'm going to focus on Dragonfly Wishes to start with, and then from the core catalog I'm also grabbing the Floral Sentiments. Now I'm really jumping in here, and I love this Dragonfly Wishes stamp. And so I want to take these flowers that are to the edge, but they have a strong corner on them. And for random stamping, that's going to be my technique that I'm highlighting, by the way. Each of the Makers with Heart are going to be highlighting a stamping technique as well as some stamps. And I'm going to do random stamping, but it's too hard of a corner really for a random stamp piece for how I do random stamping. So I grabbed these colors, Seabrook Mist, Toffee, Harbor, Desert Rose, and Peach, because I thought those colors worked well together. But I'm masking the corners of this stamp set, and then you can see it kind of rounds it and makes it nice. And by using the mask each time, I get it inked up, take the mask off. It'll be a little different, but for the most part, that curve is going to be the same on these flowers. And I started doing a full 12 by 12 sheet, but what I realized is the project that I'm going to use this random stamp sheet of paper on is actually a card workshop that makes 6 cards that I designed myself using patterns from the Make It From Your Heart Volume 2. So at this point I realized I only need half a sheet, and so I went ahead and cut that 6 by 12, and I will use the other one. I'll finish it off at another time. True Confessions, I think this is the 4th random stamping that I started this week to create this video. Life has been crazy, and one time I didn't like the direction it was going in because it had that harsh corner. One time the camera was acting up on me. One time I was so distracted, they're tearing out our kitchen, and I sit right next to the kitchen when I do this work, that there was too much going on. So here, as I started to stamp my Desert Rose, I realized my ink pad was too dry, and so I wanted to show you how I re-ink the ink pads. And so I got really close here, and you can see how quickly this ink is absorbing into the pad. As soon as I got it on there, I couldn't even count to 1, and it was already absorbed in the pad. So it was a very dry pad. But we also lived in a desert for many years, and so I'm kind of not surprised, and it's also a color that I loved. So for me, for random stamping, if you haven't picked up on it, I like to turn the paper and the stamp so that you truly get some varied placements of the stamp on your pattern paper, and there's not necessarily a right side up or upside down to it. And this is the stamp that is from the Floral Sentiments from the core catalog. I will tell you what page that's on, one moment. Page 41. I know Jessica is also going to be using some stamps from that set as well. And this is another flower from the Floral Sentiment stamp. And I'm doing this in Peach. And again, when I do random stamping, the one thing that I tell people when I'm teaching it especially is don't be afraid to overlap your stamps. Don't be afraid to let them go off the edge. If you stamp so that every image has its own boundary or frame around it, it doesn't feel right. It's not soothing. Maybe sometime I'll just do a tutorial specifically for random stamping, and I'll show you the rights and wrongs. And maybe I should have shown you some of the first page that I did with the corners and how it really wasn't working. So again, by doing the Peach or the Desert Rose with these flowers, I did it first generation with both of the images, with the bigger flower part and the center section. And so by having that second stamping of the same color, it gives it just that deeper center part. And here I'm using Harbor ink with 2 of the sizes of dragonflies from that Dragonfly Wishes stamp set. I'm using the small and the medium. And the thing that this Dragonfly stamp set has is it has stencils that exactly match all the different sizes of the Dragonfly wings. And you'll see here later where I use that. These are 2 different leaves that are taken from the Floral Wishes stamp, and I just put them together on one block. And I'm first inking them up in the Mist ink, and then I'm rock and rolling it, or no, I'm inking it in Seabrook, and then I'm rock and rolling it in Mist, because Mist is a little bit darker. So for me, for rock and rolling, I always start with my lighter color and then roll it into my darker color. I haven't had a problem with cross-contamination. I could see, like, if you did yellow last, that maybe you would be adding color to lighter, but by going from lighter to darker, I haven't had a problem. And if you look at the page that I'm creating, you can kind of see how that outline of the darker color really gives some depth to those stamps. So these are the stencils that I was talking about. And what I do with my stencils, not all of them, but I thought with these, is I put a repositionable adhesive on it, just a spray adhesive. You have to let it dry, they say 30 seconds. I let it dry typically 2 minutes, and then I go ahead and take some of the stickiness away by adhering it to paper first. And then it just peels right off, and I can use it to kind of be a mask, so that I'm only getting that gold shimmer brush right on the leaves. And you can't necessarily see it here when the paper is flat, but in a little bit, as I move the paper in the light, you will see that gold glint just pop right off the page. And in real life, it's even more. So again, I'm just taking the different stencils and using them as a mask so that I can just color the wings of the dragonfly with the gold shimmer trim. I thought I saw where I had missed 2 of the peach flowers, or no, it wasn't the peach flower, it was the desert rose flower that's currently on the, just off camera on the left hand side. I don't think I got the center section on that flower, and I didn't notice it when I did my project, and I didn't notice it until like the 6th time through. Oh, there's where you can see that gold just really shining on that page. But I didn't see that I had missed doing that center section until I was watching the video. So here what I'm going to do is I'm practicing coloring in just the petals of the flowers from the Dragonfly Wishes stamp set. And I wanted to make this quick. I didn't want to do full marker coloring on everything. I will add marker coloring for some of the green around those flowers and on the stems, but I don't know if you've seen, like, if you look at the Saturday cartoon section in the newspaper, it's not exactly, you know, a precise coloring of those cartoons, but unless you look for it, it still gives that illusion of color. So that's kind of what I'm going for here, is just a quick fill in some color on those flowers with the scarlet. And I chose scarlet instead of the desert rose because I wanted something a little bit deeper. And then I tried the scarlet shimmer brush because I was going to do the centers of the flowers, and it was a little too red. So then I went back to the toffee shimmer brush, and that just adds the browns to this, and it's a nice soft tone, so it's not too stark of a difference or too much of a contrast. And I know some people, this is too much fussing. I do quilling as well, and for some people they're like, yeah, I don't know how you can do that. But other people like to stitch, other people like to fussy cut. I don't enjoy either of those. Jessica Dybzinski, as the paper crafter, I don't remember her YouTube channel, but her link will be in the description under here along with the other Makers with Heart. But she does amazing stitching on her layout. So if you're a stitch person and need inspiration, she's your gal. Now, if you're a paper piecer, which I also don't necessarily enjoy, Kim Ferguson is the one to be your guide on paper piecing. She is just mad for it and knows how to do all the details and add all the depths. She's really, really good. So here I took the light green tri-blend marker, and I'm just using the lightest color on the marker and coloring in all the stems and such in these cluster of flowers. And again, it's just kind of giving some more, interest, and I didn't want a full outline effect. I wanted to have full color on these, so the marker is a little more opaque in that you don't get, it's not so translucent, you don't see through it as much as you did the shimmer, not the shimmer brush, excuse me, the blender brush on the flowers. And now I've decided that I need more, so I'm taking Harbor ink, and one of the splatters or the background noise, I'll call it, from the new Distressed Backgrounds, again, that's on page 37, and it's called the Background Element Stamp. And so I'm stamping off the first generation because I just want the softer, the second generation of Harbor, just to kind of fill in some of those white spaces in the back. And then I'm going to take the other element here from the Background Element Stamp, and I'm going to add the Toffee ink. I thought I was going to do one of the greens, but I thought I had enough green in this. And again, this Toffee is just kind of adding some interest. It's breaking up some of the images. It kind of allows your mind to fill in this picture. It gives permission that, you know, all the colors aren't exactly as they should be, because it's, you know, it can see that it's a distressed kind of look. So here is the pattern that I came up with, the cutting guide, and I will have this available as you can print it, send me an email and I can send it to you. Otherwise, I will be posting it hopefully with a link in the description. It might not be right when this video launches. There's just, we're doing life at 80 miles an hour with no seatbelt on. So I will have the link soon in the description, but if you don't see the link in the description, just pop me an email at Amanda@craftingwithamanda, and I'll be more than happy to send that to you. So it makes 3 different pattern cards, again from the pattern 2 of Make It From Your Heart. It's pattern 20, 24, and 26, and you cut out all the pieces. You just need the 6x12 of the pattern paper, or in my case, this random stamp piece. I used Harbor as my second 6x12 piece, Mist as the third 6x12 piece, and then some sentiments that don't equate. And in fact, it's the Harbor doesn't even use a full 6x12. It uses like a 6x7 inch piece. So you can almost get 2 full sets out of a 12x12 if you wanted. So for less than 2 full sheets of cardstock, you can make these 6 cards. So I'm showing you here that on the third iteration of the cards, you make 1 of card 1, 2 of card 2, and then 3 of card 3. But you'll see that I don't have the random stamp piece in the big image for the bottom of the card. Instead, you use that Mist cardstock. So what I'm going to do is, to give more interest to that card, I'm going to go ahead and dry emboss it. And you can see that I cut those pieces so that they could bridge behind the sentiment. And you can see here that I used a quilting embossing folder for this card 1, and you only make 1 of these cards. I used the high thin cut from one of the other National Stamping Month thin cuts. Let me get the name for you. It's called Hello Fabulous, and it also has flowers that are very similar to the floral sentiment flowers. And so I used it to cut out some flowers out of the leftover Desert Rose and Peach. Actually, not leftover, it was leftover from a project, but it wasn't leftover from this project. So out of Desert Rose and Peach cardstock, and I just shape those and add them to this card. I did cut out from the Sprigs and Sentiments stamp set and thin cut, and I did some heat embossing of some leaves on it in gold. You can't really see that. I was really excited. I filmed all the process of doing the heat embossing because it's fun to watch that, and it doesn't show up in my lighting and video setup yet, so I will continue to work on that. So to finish off this card, I just added some gold shimmer brush, and that's card number 1. Let's move on to card number 2. On card number 2, I'm only going to make 1 example of this card on during the video, but as you saw, I took the Harbor cardstock and ran it through the embossing folder. It was the botanical embossing folder, and then I'm using the from the National Stamping Month, there is a sentiment stamp, and I am using that for the sentiment. If you've watched my channel at all, you know that I love to dry fit, because then I get an idea of where things are going to go and how everything's going to end up on my project. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. And I just love the sentiment on this. Some of them from this Sending Love and Laughter stamp set just really speak to me. This one is, you were on my mind today, so I thought I would send a hug your way. There's some birthday ones of, I didn't forget your birthday, I'm just extending the celebration. Another, you are all kinds of amazing. I will use that on a couple cards today. To someone who's absolutely, positively, completely indispensable to me. No one deserves it better than you is a sentiment. And then there's another, you make the world a better place. You are on my mind and in my heart. Let's see what some of the other ones are. And it's kind of nice because these have some that could go on the outside or on the inside. So I am shaping these flowers again using, I'd use the thin cut for the other stamp set, Hello Fabulous. So that's what is going on there with the sprigs and sentiment thin cut that I used in embossed in gold. But going back to the Sending Love and Laughter, some of them wishing you all the best with your new and exciting adventure. Your kindness is a gift I will always treasure. Thanks so much for being there. It means the world to know you care. Wishing you a day that is as wonderful as you. Just a little hay to brighten your day. It's time to celebrate with cake. And then in parentheses, lots of cake. I love doing these little thread clusters. I'm going back to telling about what's on the video here, and I still can't find my gold thread, but I found this thread that's white with gold flecks in it, and I thought, all right, this will work. So that's what I used. Here's a close-up so you can take a look at that. And now we're going to move on to card number. So on card number 3, I just want to show you the 2 different variations that you get if you follow the cutting guide from the pattern that I have. And again, I'm just shaping those flowers and sprigs and giving them some oomph and interest. I use the You Are All Kinds of Amazing because I have some people in my life that really are just so supportive, and just really, you know, hopefully everybody has some of those people in their life and those champions that cheer them on and talk them through when, you know, things aren't always as you would want them to be. You know, on a kitchen project or those kind of things, there's always little things that happen that you're like, oh, that's not how I wanted it to go. But they turn it around and give you perspective, and so it's kind of nice to tell them how amazing they are. And that's what these 2 cards are destined to do. And I wanted to highlight the word you. So again, I use the gold shimmer brush, and you can't see it here on camera, but I will pick that card up and kind of move it around, and in the light it just dances. So you can kind of see it there a little bit. And now I just want to show you all the cards together. So there's card number 1, and then card number 2. I did make the second iteration of card number 2 with just a little hay to brighten your day. And then these are the 3 iterations of card 3. So this is how they turned out. Be sure to check out what all the other Makers with Heart creators are doing in our collaboration and what stamping technique you can learn from them. Please be kind to one another, be kind to yourself, be a blessing.